the next area, the next biblical area here. An evil being seeks to tempt. So again, this all comes from Genesis, which is what we're trying to talk about. The music industry, how it relates to little guys, independent musicians, DIY people, small labels, small bands and such with small followings. And we used to be able to access these platforms and grow our audiences to our heart's content. But now, not only are the boundaries shrinking in on us, but we have a lot of bad actors in the industry at large who are not only taking advantage of artists at the higher levels of the industry with the 360 deals and such in the record labels, but you also have the same kind of evil going on in the lower levels in the local music scenes and the indie music world, because like we have these production companies, we have guys that send out these email scams that try to get artists to forward them $200 for a plane ticket so that they can go on the stage with Kanye West. And it's, of course, all a scam. And nobody wants to talk about this. So there's an amount of evil that these guys are preying on young artists, and they're preying on their desire to be famous. And so let's talk about some of the evil that's not so much like the snake and the apple, but the evil that's more like the snake telling you, oh, well, here, if you eat this apple, we're going to give you world fame and world domination, and you're going to be on stage with the biggest boys in the entire scene.
And just from being in local bands in the DMV area, a lot of those gigs get played in Baltimore, and a lot of times what you do is you work through a production company. Everything's handled through emails. It's all handled through a booking promoter. A lot of these guys work for separate LLCs from each other that work together, and their common goal is mainly to get money for tickets that they print. That is their number one goal.
Well, you make it sound so innocent, like they're just
it's an innocent goal.
They're just following their business model.
The goal is a very innocent goal. 100%. The issue with that, they forego actually caring about whether or not those who paid for those printed tickets actually show up. So a lot of these companies utilize. Well,
on some level, they have to know that these bands are just going to buy a lot of the tickets.
They do know that, and maybe at first they didn't, but once they realized that as long as they put it on something, what I've seen plenty of times, which is a battle of the bands platform,
a battle of the blands,
and a lot of very young local talent that at that point in time they might not have their priorities.
Talent is a strong word.
Regardless,
I would even say they
they have the balls to get themselves out there. So they
specifically target bands that they probably feel like they really need that help, and they won't be able to get there on their own.
What band doesn't need that help?
Well, right, but they're preying on that band's sense of like, oh, we just want to get all the fame without doing all the work.
Preying on the sense of gullibility
of the artist.
You're not getting
something for nothing, guys. You're just not. You have to be. This is why we're talking about this. Both of us have made that mistake before.
And I tell you what, even if you are the act that actually gets all of your fans there, that actually gets all of your fans to the venue, and they travel and they do all of that other stuff, you also get about nothing out of it. You are not getting in with the upper echelon. You're not meeting Kanye next week because you won the Battle of the Bands at Fells Point on Sunday.
I would say it's more akin to this. These guys think that they're dream merchants. They're selling you on this dream that you're going to somehow reach this high level of success and fame and riches, all for the price of one little roll of tickets. And for that price, you can now be on the same level as the big boys, and it's simply not true.
And if you get the artist to believe that, right, then you will be able to, keep stringing them along for as long as you want. George Burns, famous stand-up comedian and an actor, once said, if you can fake sincerity, then you've got it made. All you're doing is exploiting their gullibility and milking it for the small nominal amount of money that it's worth to your production company and your paper ticket sales that you have generated and your social media presence as a production company, that it is worth your while. And then when it is not worth the artist's while and they decide to jump ship, or they're not worth your while and you decide to not send them emails anymore or not give them any callbacks.
Well, it's no harm, no foul for them at that point. They've already got the money for the tickets, so they can keep doing it.
To the artist, they feel like they just wasted a monumental amount of time.
And money, because they're paying for their own lack of status.
Tickets.
They're paying for their own broken dreams. That's not the only area of evil in the industry. That's probably the most applicable for the type of people that are going to be watching this.
Absolutely.
But there's all kinds of other ways that this shows up. So I've seen guys that act like they're these big promoters and these big booking agents, and they want to sign a contract with an artist and get a percentage of their income. And in some cases, they do actually help that artist get work and get booking. What I've seen is that it really doesn't help the artist get to any higher level. All it is they're getting the same kind of opportunities and the same kind of jobs that they would already be getting, but they're just splitting that money with somebody that's again, selling them this idea that by giving them a percentage, they're suddenly going to get better gigs and they're going to start climbing the ladder, when really they're giving away the income that they have. So the point here is just be very careful about not only the production companies. Obviously be skeptical of any big company that sends you an unsolicited email, but even the people that you meet in the clubs, in the streets, at the venues, they know that you're waiting on one connected, high-level guy to notice them and go up to them after the show and say, hey, I want to work with you and I want to get you booked and I want to get you paid and all this. They know you're waiting for that. So they're going to play into that expectation. And I've seen it happen time and time again, where I've seen singers that have signed on with a guy, and that's all he is a guy, but for some reason the singer believes that he's some kind of famous, huge, connected guy with radio stations and all this. And then 3, 4, 5 years later, artist is right back where they started with even less money because they've ended up splitting their money with these guys.